Let me begin by telling you that this is no ordinary story. I wasn't born with any special gifts or super intelligence. I am but a fly on the wall. You know, you stare into glass of an interrogation room, but you can only see your own reflection in the glass, while the others can gaze at you from the other side. That is how I feel as people fix their gaze upon me. My name is Tulip. I guess my mother was high when she gave me that name. But I am soft and fragile, but hardly precious. Life hasn't been kind to me. I used to own a dog called Bernard, but he passed away only a year later. Any friends I once had either moved away or were as lonely as I was, and found comfort in sharing that with me. Any resistance to insecurity or adversity in my life was met with disappointment, because everything I once called my own was shattered out of my hands and taken away from me. This then begs the question of what the fuck I am going to do with my life. If you lived a passionless existence, and everything you touch turned to dust, would or could you find any sustenance in living? I was obsessed with the idea of death. People around me found it creepy. I dreamed I would become a mortician, so I set my exams and worked harder than I ever remember doing. I would gaze at the lifeless bodies in the morgue and study their beauty, as if their pain and suffering had been lifted away and they could now rest at last. I studied them. They became my obsession. With each new corpse came a new story. Suicide, car crash, work accident. Whatever the case, they threw it my way. I photographed them in exotic poses, with a collage of pastel flowers. With my instruments and tools, I could create such beauty. I was affixed with the idea of finding a young girl to document. I wanted the public to see the beauty that I was so transfixed with. Why a young girl, you ask? Because when I was younger, I met a boy called Alex, whom I fell in love with. We both shared a lonely existence, and we used to drive to the pier at night and watch the moon glimmer its reflection onto the waters of the tide. One night he kissed me, and I couldn't help myself. We shared a connection much deeper than skin and bone. When my mother found out I was pregnant, at such a young age, she was distraught. She forbid me from seeing Alex ever again. My mother said I must keep the child since she did not believe in abortion, but the child must be given up for adoption, as we were too poor to support another mouth to feed. I will never forget the day she was born. She had bright blue eyes just like her mother, and a round cheeky smile just like her father. She had a very distinct birthmark, shaped like an arrow on the back of her neck. Before I had a chance to say goodbye, the nuns swept her away and she was on her way to a new home. I hoped to see a young girl come through my doors, so I could capture the loss I had felt when my own daughter was taken away from me, to never see her again. A new body, limp and lifeless, lay on the table, ready for me to pretty up for a funeral the next day. There was a tag wrapped around the corpse's ankle, that read #1456. A number given to identify the patient or any paperwork. I gasped to myself. It was a young girl. I felt something drop in the pit of my stomach, a new ambition to take a photo in a pose unlike any of the priors. It would complete my collection for the art competition. I gripped under her back and pulled her forward. The girl only looked to be aged 6 or 7. She was hit by a car as she tried to fetch her favourite soccer ball. She had well-kept, tidy and short black hair. As I slouched her body forward, I was confronted with an image so unkind, so vivid, I won't ever forget it. It was a birthmark in the shape of an arrow.